Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Fred,
I'm Brian.
and we got hopefully another good one for you.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing a whole bunch of things from defunding the police to some comments by Prince Harry, um, AG comments from Arizona, and some more. So we're going to start off by talking about some defunding the police.
So before we begin, we just want to make sure we let everybody know. I'm gonna need you to like and subscribe to the video, to the channel.
And
Go ahead and
comment below.
comment below.
Comment
Follow
your
us
suggestions.
Comment with your suggestions. Follow us below. Comment below. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate your views. We appreciate your comments and likes. Subscriptions are what's going to get us where we need to go. We're on a journey to 1,000 right now. That's the first milestone. So every little bit helps, and we appreciate you guys. Again, make sure you subscribe and follow, and we'll keep pumping out the content as much as we can.
All right. So we're going to start with the police issue, which is defunding the police. That's been in the news recently and probably for the last year or so. So basically, it's a demand by activists that police departments around the country be defunded and money be sent elsewhere into the community to help. Whether that does or not, that's kind of the discussion for today. There is a list of cities that have officially defunded the police, not really states, but just cities. And those cities include Seattle, New York City, Chicago, Portland, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and some other small ones. And there's one more, I just can't pronounce it, so Fred is going to say it.
Oh, Minneapolis.
Yes, okay.
So,
So let's start with that one first, since that was kind of where the whole thing kind of started.
yeah, it's obviously we know the court case. It just recently got. I don't want to say settled, but the verdicts were thrown out, and
Yeah.
obviously they're going to go through challenges and stuff like that. But Minneapolis was kind of the breaking off point. That was the ledge that we jumped off of for this whole defunding trend. You know, I think just to get it right out front, I think it's a terrible idea. Like you said in your introduction to this whole thing, defunding the activists say defunding isn't necessarily canceling or abolishing the police, even though many pundits of defunding do hope that this is a step towards that.
Yeah.
It is supposed to be on paper just reallocating funds that would have gone to law enforcement to other avenues. I think it's a terrible idea. It's showing. It's showing when you look at the statistics. It's showing when you look at what cities are doing in response to the changes in crime in their city. A prime example is New York. New York, they took $1 billion in funding from NYPD. Seattle took 3.5 million, and a lot of the other small cities like Norman, Oklahoma, took about $850,000, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you know as well as I do, if you've got a smaller agency, $850,000 can cripple your budget.
That's a lot of training, equipment, pay for officers, and all those things are definitely important, especially the training, because I mean, we fill in a whole bunch of roles that people don't typically expect us to fill. We're social workers, we're law enforcement officers, we're third-party mediators in conflicts that aren't violent, or just neighbor disputes or disputes between a child and their parent. I mean, we fill so many roles, and we also go to mental health calls where there's somebody in crisis, and we have to evaluate them and then get them help as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of training that we do. It's not 6 months to the academy, 3 months on with another person to help you learn the area and know the job. No, it's a constant thing.
That's the biggest problem I hear with the argument. I see it all the time on social media. Oh, it takes more time to get the training to become a barber than a police officer, and that's absolute nonsense. Like you just mentioned, it's 4.5 months in the academy, and it could be more or less depending on where you work. But 4.5 months in the police academy, and then you have several months of field training where, like you said, you ride with another officer and eventually phase that officer out to where you're on your own, and then you're on probation for the remainder of your first year, where you can be fired at any time for any slight little misstep. And then we're constantly going through trainings. We have yearly block trainings where we refresh on things that we're mandated to refresh on. We learn new defensive tactics. We learn better techniques for shooting, better techniques for de-escalation. We learn all kinds of things, and where there's constantly things changing, especially like you said in the mental health field, that change the way we have to deal with mental health patients. And we don't just go out there and just beat up on people. Like, sometimes we have to use our words and de-escalate situations, and especially when they're mental health patients. And a lot of that gets lost in the shuffle. People think, oh, we're going to hit the police where it hurts in their funding. You're hurting the community. You're hitting the community where it hurts in the police funding, because we lose a lot of that, and especially upgraded equipment. You want us to have good working cars to make sure we get to calls in a hurry, equipment that's not going to fail.
And a lot of those calls that we get to in a hurry are medical calls. I mean, I've been called to countless medical calls, and I'm pretty sure you have as well, that, we're first on scene. EMS hasn't even gotten there.
They haven't even gotten in the rig
trying to
yet.
evaluate.
No, so they haven't even, just to your point, they haven't even gotten in the rig yet, and that's why we respond to medical calls and sometimes fire calls with EMS and fire, because we're constantly roving around. There, no disrespect to them, but not a lot of times they're sitting in their back in their station, and they haven't even gotten the rig loaded up yet, and we're there doing CPR or whatever else the case may be. Obviously, they show up, they take over, and they're the one that ultimately most likely saves the life. But sometimes we get there and solve the medical problem for them before they even get there, and without us getting there first, that person could have died.
And I mean, when we get there first, we provide all the information to dispatch, so when they get there, they know exactly what they're going into. We necessarily don't. We get whatever the caller tells, or whatever our dispatch or central communications tell us, and we go from there. I mean,
so you start taking funding away. You eliminate our ability to keep our vehicles up to snuff. You eliminate our ability to keep our weapons up to snuff. The last thing you want is for us to show up to save you, and our guns aren't properly maintained, or they're not taken care of, or they're not quality, and they jam, or they fail, or taser. We show up and it's a taser situation, and it escalates because we don't have that weapon at our disposal, or it's not working, or this deputy we couldn't get the funding for this deputy to have a taser. The other one's the only one with a taser. There's a lot of stuff people don't take into consideration. And then, the training, the training, there's interview and interrogation courses, there's narcotics courses to help people, deputies or police officers or troopers, find signs and symptoms of drug usage, and people that are trafficking in drugs. That we have human trafficking training, all kinds of things that are expensive. People do not understand how much these trainings cost. I mean, some of them are upwards of like $400 or $500 per person for a week-long class. It's insane.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to the cities that have defunded the police, and they're the big cities where there's multiple officers and even more fluent calls that they might get dispatched to than that me and you may. But I mean, we would get dispatched to the same thing, but not as frequently. I mean, not as more complicated as they might have. I mean, it's big cities like New York. New York has enough police officers to field the 5th biggest army in the world. So I mean, taking $1 billion away from them is very significant than taking 80,000 from a smaller city. I mean, it's just as significant.
When you look at the $850,000 that came from places like Norman, Oklahoma, if you have, in our area, we have a bunch of small agencies, but we also have a bunch of large agencies as well. And some of the mid-sized to bigger agencies, $850,000 is probably 80% of what they would need to be able to give officers raises. and I don't know about you, not you, but the you that are watching, but if you worked at a job for 6, 7, 8 years and you didn't get a raise, fairly confident you'd quit. And that doesn't require that you carry a gun to protect yourself. You go to calls where people are going to try to beat you up or kill you. You go in there and you have to touch disgusting things and rescue people and be in danger, and you don't get a raise. When I started at my first agency, I came in just after the third year of 7 years of no raises. So the first 4 years of my career, I had zero raise, none, not one. And it wasn't until probably about year 7 or 8, they went, oh, man, you should probably be making X amount of dollars right now. Sorry about that. And, they did the right thing and put my salary where it should have been. But all those years where I was making less than I should have, it hurts. And you really, really got to love this job to keep getting stiffed on salary like that and keep coming to work every day and doing a good job. I mean, you really have to want to do it. And most people wouldn't do that for far less dangerous jobs. So, funding is important. I mean, people just get on TV and they listen to the news and the garbage that's spewed, and they don't do their own research. And I guarantee you, if half the people that support defunding police saw how bad it would cripple a police department's ability to do their job, they wouldn't. They would not support it at all whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just for equipment and for training. It's also to try and get new people in, because people are retiring just like any other job. People find out, oh, okay, I guess I'm not really cut out for this, so they quit and then go do something else. I mean,
That happens a lot.
yeah, I mean, it's you got to entice people to come and work in this dangerous job where you do fill so many roles that when I first joined, I really wasn't. I was like, oh, we're really doing this. I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know. And I mean, I enjoy it. I still enjoy it today. That's why I still work. But I mean, it's a very difficult, fluid job. If you could be doing, a lot of smaller calls where you're solving neighbors' problems one day, and then you're just going to a whole bunch of longer calls, or maybe a mix of the two for the day. I mean, it's just an ever-flowing job. And that's what I kind of think of the appeal is that you don't do the same thing every day. That's what it was for me.
Even when you go to the same call 3 days in a row, the same type of call, it's never the same. I mean,
Yeah,
the same
exactly.
basic elements are there, but it's, this person has a different problem that's causing the overarching problem. It is, it really is, without a doubt, it is the best job in the world. Like, it really is. But there are a lot of negatives to it. There are a lot of downsides, and I see why a lot of people try to get out early, or they can't make it, or they don't want to make it, or there's a lot of stress to it. There's a lot of negatives. But I mean, it is. I mean, you get paid to go to work and do what we do. Like, that's insane. It's an awesome job, but it's taxing.
It is. I mean, just in my year or so, it's really been an experience for me, and I really do hope to do this for the next 20 some odd years.
No, and you get people complaining that, and I'm not taking anything away from servers or whatever. Those before I did this, I did retail jobs, I did restaurant jobs. Every job is tough in its own way. But you
Yeah.
get people that are, working in restaurants or whatever, and they're complaining about being short staffed. Like, okay, that's awful, and I feel for you. But imagine being short staffed and you got to go to a call where you need 10 deputies to make sure you don't die, and you end up you get there with 3. Like, imagine how that feels. It's not fantastic, and that's what you're going to run into with a lot of defunding nonsense. And I mean, you even look at Minneapolis. Minneapolis, its homicides increased 60% in 2020 from 2019, and a lot of that is being attributed to low manpower because they can't keep the people that they need to keep, or entice, like you said, entice more people. Um, Going forward, in February of this year, 2021, Minneapolis approved a $6.4 million bill to reallocate money back in to the police department. Like, it didn't work how we thought it was going to, and here's what we're doing to try and fix it. But sometimes it's too little, too late.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere you look, Seattle, crime compared to, last month in 2019 is up 525%.
That, that
It's just insane numbers. I mean, one from New York is 130% increase in shootings compared to this time last year. I mean, it just wherever you look, it's just a bad policy.
What
There's
did
no.
you think was going to happen? Like,
I
what,
know you need more people and not less. And when you defund, that's what you get.
well,
And you just get more crime because there's not enough deputies or officers or troopers to uh, go and handle them.
well, 2020 was, per the statistics, 2020 in Atlanta was their most violent year on record. Think about that. How long has Atlanta been in existence? I don't know. I don't have that number handy, but it's been around a while. I mean, at least in the 35 years that I've been alive. And Atlanta, 2020 was the most violent year in recorded history for Atlanta. That's insane. They had 157 homicides in 2020. That was the highest in 25 years, and it's up 99 from 99. So they went from 99 homicides in 2019 to 157, which marked the most violent year in history. Like that's, like you said, I mean, the statistics are only trending in the wrong direction. I mean, 500 and something percent in Seattle. That's insane.
Yeah.
In 2021 of this year, March of 2021, the LA Metro officials, they voted unanimously 12-0 to pass a bill giving $36 million in funding back to the LA Metro PD alone. Just it's sweeping. All these cities that are cutting funding for law enforcement are going, oops, that was a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe we should refund them and give them even more money.
So yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough that this, there's so much to our job. There's so much to our job, and the training alone, the training alone is important. And at our agency, we've gone through highs and lows. We've gone through lulls, and we've gone through booms of employment. At every agency I worked at, man, there are lots of times where it just gets hard to go to training. Like you want to go to these extra trainings so you can be better at your job, and it gets tough because you just can't get the manpower. And every time you're like, man, we're loaded up, we've got the manpower we need. Like 15 people retire, and you got a bunch of people that were like, oh, this job's not for me, so they quit. And then people are
being taken off the road.
People are going to specialty units, and it sucks, and people on the road don't want to hear it, but the reality is the road's not unimportant. The road is the core of what we do. But
in my opinion, it is the most important. I mean, that's the people who take the initial reports, do the initial investigations. I mean, detectives, I know you were a detective before I came on, but I mean, still, I mean, we're taking their reports, we're doing the initial investigations, but we don't have the time because we're doing other calls to see these crimes and these reports all the way through.
Right. And the like I said, the road is the core of the agency, but there are so many specialty units that are important. Major crimes, the homicides and the sex crimes, the child abuse, the narcotics, the property crimes with burglaries. I mean, yeah, all those other major crimes are awful, but property crimes is what the absolute average citizen is going to, like, the worst thing they're ever going to experience in their life. The average person is someone breaks into their car or someone breaks into their house and steals something. And these are the things that are affecting the everyday citizens of the cities and counties and states that we live and work in. And so the investigative roles have to be filled. I mean, they can go a little bit, they can linger a little bit short-staffed, but the reality is you've got a small group of people working a large number of problems, and you spend too much time with the investigative units not getting filled, and detectives start getting buried. They start getting 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 cases when they shouldn't. And so it's important that you have to, because people don't understand unless they've been in investigations how fast you can get burned out, how easily it can destroy your love for this job and wanting to come to work because you're so buried all the time. You wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning having to go deal with stuff that sometimes it's interesting and sometimes it's another stupid thing that you shouldn't have to be going to, but you do. And you get so burned out back there so easily that when you have to pluck from the road. You have to, the road does have to get short-staffed sometimes, and it just puts this massive burden on road patrol deputies, and that's how you run into people not being able to do the best quality job they possibly can do. Short staffing. I mean, you get burned out, and you go call to call to call. Like, there's nothing like being stuck sitting on a call, and you're getting a call from a supervisor. Why are you taking so long? Well, I'm trying to do a good job. I understand, do a good job, but hurry up. Like, and you're getting pulled in 800 directions, and you just want to come to work and work hard and do the best for the people you're working to help. And short staffing kills people, man. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem on road. It's a problem for every special unit, because I do agree that, all the special units do need to be filled. But it's also, road patrol also needs to have at least adequate manpower as well.
And that funding, that's
all it goes back to, is this funding, money.
And you go to the people that are approving your funding. It's it's outside of the agencies. Typically, it's typically the people in the local government that are deciding your funding, whether it's city, county, state, whatever. And they're always and they've got a job to do. I get it, but they're always trying to twist that rag and wring out every little bit they can to try and save every little penny. That it's at our cost sometimes, and sometimes they go, this is the hard number you get, and you're going to have to allocate it however you can. I know you want X amount more for hiring people, but we're just not going to give it to you. So sad, too bad, sorry. So then you end up this year, maybe we don't get new cars, or this year nobody gets to go to that training that's probably important that we should go to, or this year we have to cut down the block training, or this year we can't renew guns or whatever. I mean, they don't understand how important that funding is, and it really, honestly, it's hurting police departments. I mean, it's hurting us, but it's not hurting us nearly as much as it's hurting the public. I know the big thing right now is, the police are evil, all cops are bad, blah, blah, blah. That's the whole thing. But, you're crippling your own community. Like, the community suffers the worst from defunding police.
Yeah. And really, just a last note on this. I mean, as road patrol, as investigations, as just in general, police need money for trainings, equipment, new people, because people quit all the time. And, we just need people to fill those spots, the investigations and the special units on road patrol, so we can investigate those crimes. I mean, we go to people's houses on presumably some of their darkest days where, their car just got burglarized, or their house just got burglarized, or, this and that. But I mean, we need the funding to do the training so we can be proficient at our jobs, so we have the manpower to find the person that stole, your gold ring out of your car or your TV out of your house. We need the money for all that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and switch over to our second topic. Some comments made by Prince Harry, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. Who cares, really, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and we've got the clip for you. We're gonna go ahead and play that real quick, and then we'll get into it.
What? Because of public interest? There's no public interest in you taking your kids for a walk down the beach.
Right.
Nothing.
Yes.
And of course,
there's not news.
No, there's not news.
Yeah.
This is my issue with it. It's like, news should stay as news. What has happened in today's world is that news has been hijacked and used to commercially benefit a small group of people. So it's this sort of rabid feeding frenzy. 2 days ago, Orlando Bloom sent me a message because he's down the road and we sort of keep in contact because of the paparazzi.
Yeah.
He sent me a photograph, which his security got, of this long-haired guy with a beanie on with his earpods in, with his massive camera lying in the back of his 4x4 truck. Blacked out windows, a woman driving, who she likes the sort of the peace sign when she's sitting there as a distraction. And he's laid down in the back of this truck, taking photographs of them out with their kid.
Yeah.
And whoever else is in that area.
Yeah.
How is that normal? How is that acceptable?
Yeah. Well, when we took this on, I didn't try for a second to say legally this shouldn't be allowed, because I know our First Amendment is such that it is going to protect the press, as in some ways it should. It's the fourth estate.
All right. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, in reality, I get the overarching point of what he was trying to make, and we can expand on that in a little bit. But I think someone from royalty from another country that's been, fed the benefits of royalty with a silver spoon their entire life, to come over here and say anything about the First Amendment and not walk on eggshells trying to make sure you get your message across properly was an error in judgment.
And precisely.
Yes, that was
very precisely, especially when you come to
a drastic error in judgment. Like, I know it was on a podcast and these things kind of seem like laid back and you just shooting from the hip, and I get that, but to say the First Amendment is bonkers, I mean, foot and mouth. Like, what were you thinking? You clearly could not have been thinking otherwise, or you thought you were on a podcast still sitting over in England where you could say whatever you wanted, and you're the royal god or goddess over there, and there's no way you thought that was a good idea.
Prince of England. I mean, how can they not?
the bonkers.
Comment, I mean,
did you look up the definition of bonkers?
Yeah, it just means crazy, according to Merriam-Webster, sorry, means crazy, mad.
So the First Amendment, the right to free speech and free press, freedom of religion, freedom of so on and so forth, is crazy or mad. That was a bad choice, my friend.
My biggest thing is why do Americans even care about what the British Crown even think? Honestly, because 1776 was the last year we really stopped caring.
That's we haven't had to care since, and the reality
I don't care now.
the reality is, that just like everything else, man, people are so infatuated with things that help them escape from whatever mundane thing they've got going on in their lives. So
yeah,
celebrities, I mean, in reality, British royalty is a celebrity. So celebrities, people drool over, all these actors and actresses and musicians and celebrity. I mean, royalty is no different, but I don't know why. I mean, look at the Kardashians. I mean, there's nothing special or important about them other than people are just infatuated with them for some reason. Who knows why? But I guess they're entertaining to people, and people. I mean, their shows ratings are through the roof constantly. So, I mean, maybe we're doing something wrong, but the reality is, he didn't. When I listen to the whole thing, I'm not really hearing somebody that's really trashing on the First Amendment in general. Just a poor choice of wording.
Yeah, it was just more relevant to the paparazzi, but I mean, he moved to California and he even name dropped, I believe it was like Orlando Bloom. He was talking to Orlando Bloom, and I'm like,
we keep in touch because the paparazzi is so unbearable, indubitably, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's you live in LA where the paparazzi are just plentiful, and you didn't move to Middle America where there's no paparazzi and no one would really recognize, or probably wouldn't recognize you and really cared. You had to move to a more popular city. I mean,
you knew what you did. You knew what you were doing. If you really wanted to be left alone, you would have moved to some little podunk town and you would have used your fortune to buy a farm and like be a rancher and be left alone. You moved into the heart, literally the only place worse than New York City for bright lights and everybody hounding you and the paparazzi following you. You moved to the absolute worst place to move if you wanted to be left alone. You knew what you were doing. Don't BS me. You're not fooling anybody, bro. So the paparazzi's out of control. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, but it is what it is, and he even says in there, oh, well, me walking my children down the street or walking my dog is not news. Listen, bro, when you're a celebrity, the way you hold your fork is news when you're a celebrity. The people eat that stuff up, and yes, the paparazzi is annoying. And if I was a celebrity and they were following me around trying to take pictures of me everywhere, yeah, it'd get annoying. Absolutely, I get it, but you could stop. You could go back to England and you could be royalty behind your big walls around your castle or wherever the heck you guys live, and you can stay out of the limelight as much as possible. You could have, at least you get to choose to move into a big ritzy house where you could put up 10 feet walls with barbed wire and hire security to sit around and keep people out of your property. How do you think we feel? We're sitting here on our day off, just worked a night shift, been asleep for 2 hours, and there's a banging on our door, and we're like, who the heck? Nobody comes by my house. Who is here? And you show up to the front door, and it's some guy like, hey, sir, sorry to bother you on your day off. No, you're not, because you wouldn't have knocked on my door. Sorry to bother you on your day off, but I saw you're a police officer, so can you give me directions to the 7-Eleven? At least you can keep people from knocking on your door. Like we don't get that luxury, and we're getting filmed all the time. So suck it up, Buttercup.
We don't get to meet famous celebrities. I don't have Jack Black's personal phone number.
Robert Downey Jr. didn't move in down the street, and we talk because the paparazzi's bothering us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would kind of be an interesting problem to have. But anyways,
well, the First Amendment. Like I want to tell you. I mean, you should just shut up. I mean, you have the ability to just tune all this out. And at least with it comes riches. But you have a First Amendment right. My friend, you have a First Amendment right to get on podcasts and say stupid stuff like the First Amendment is bonkers. And that, sir, is the beauty of the First Amendment.
It really is. All right. So from here, we're gonna transition over into some of the Arizona Attorney General's comments. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Mark Brnovich.
Okay.
So we have a nice little clip that we're going to play for you, and then we'll, as usual, get into that afterwards.
A call to action to the federal government from Arizona's top law official.
This is wrong, and if Vice President Harris is not going to come to the border, if she's not going to address this issue, then someone else needs to.
Attorney General Mark Brnovich sending a letter to President Biden today asking him to replace Vice President Kamala Harris as the border czar, writing in his letter, to date, her response to the border crisis has been absolutely abysmal, and that she's failed to articulate any plan.
I'm very frustrated with what's happening. We have seen just in the last several months about 450,000 people cross into our southern border illegally.
Brnovich says Arizona's border officials are overwhelmed and understaffed, and says he personally invited the vice president to take a tour with him, but never got a response back.
And I just was hoping that she would understand that, as a former law enforcement official, as a former AG, as a first-generation American like myself, that she would be empathetic and understand the need to come down here and see for herself.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on that?
I honestly, regardless of which direction it goes, I love it when people just have like brass huevos and they just go out there and they just throat punch people with stupid stuff like the borders are. Oh, just scathing, nasty comments like that. Yeah, I mean, they're childish, but to sit here, you listen to the clip, you listen to the discussion that he has. They've made numerous attempts to try and get her. This is the woman that the Biden administration says, oh, well, she's not actually down there trying to fix the border crisis, but she's the diplomacy of this administration at the border. So you're in charge of the diplomacy of the administration at the border, and you've not set foot at the border. You've not gone down there. I mean, even AOC went down there. I mean, yeah, it was for a photo op to sit there and shake on a cage and cry and take a photo op in a white suit, but at least she went down there. But you're the vice president. You're in charge of sorting out this whole mess and being the diplomacy in it, and you've done a couple Zoom calls and you've not set foot down there. That's
and a big part of the diplomacy is going to those border states, talking with the local representatives and state representatives on what's going on, because they're the ones that have to deal with it constantly. Well, you're in Washington, D.C., not having to worry about it. So, that talking with the president of Mexico and getting down there with the border guards, the local states, their local, police, because they have to deal with that too. So, if you're going to handle the situation, you need to be down there on the ground talking with people that have to deal with it on a day-by-day basis.
Well, and mentioning the Mexican president, and I shame on me, I didn't jot that down, but reading through all the sources and the articles and stuff, even the president of Mexico has been critical of, and I'm the first one to say who cares what other countries think, but for people that are talking about diplomacy and talking about we need to reach out and have a good relationship with these other countries after Trump, and our neighbor to the south is critical of how you're handling the border. I mean, they weren't critical when Trump was building a wall, but they're critical of you and how you're dropping the ball on this. Like that's a problem. You talk to they talk to the Customs and Border Protection, and some of the numbers they've encountered 178,622 illegal migrants entering the U.S. in April alone. That's almost 200,000 illegal migrants into the country in April alone. That's up 3% from March's 172,000. That March, prior to the 3% increase for April, March alone was already the highest number of illegal migrants entering the country in the last 20 years. So a little bit of diplomacy might help a little bit, We're still, there's certain people I was just watching an article before we turned this on, or not a news clip. The sheriff in Arizona along the border was saying, there's not a migration problem at the border. Of course, he's going to say that. No sheriff or police chief is going to stand up and go, "Hey guys, we're doing a terrible job," and it's not their fault. It's not their fault necessarily that they're doing a terrible job. We have an administration that is allowing people, it's inviting people practically to just fly across the border unchecked, untested for COVID, untested for all these diseases and whatnot. And on top of it, we're housing them in a hotel. Listen, I'm not saying that they need to sleep on a concrete floor in cages or anything like that. We're housing them in a hotel. This last COVID stimulus bill that was passed, I just saw a thing that they're taking upwards of, I think it's just over $1 billion that was supposed to be allocated for medical health research and equipment and supplies for American people, and that is being reallocated to put funding into these hotels for the people that came here illegally.
Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't be against reallocating some funds, but I mean, it'd have to be to problems for Americans, like homeless vets, for example, because I've met many homeless vets while I work. I mean, that are staying at hotels, but now are kicked out and don't have any place to go. And, the country that they served isn't helping them, but they're helping people that are coming across the border illegally.
Literally, the way we are handling the situation with U.S. military veterans is a disgrace, and it's an embarrassment just in general. I don't care if it's Trump, it's Biden, whatever. The lack of funding for veterans to keep them off the streets, the mental health issues that they suffer from, all the medical needs that they have. It's an embarrassment. It is absolute garbage the way that they're being treated and the way they're being handled. And like you said, we deal with it all the time. We over half the people that I've dealt with, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but over half the homeless people that I've dealt with have been homeless veterans that they go to the VA and they can't get help here, they can't get help there. And it's absolutely disgusting. And then you turn around and we've got people some of these people that are coming here and trying to come here illegally, yeah, they may be trying to escape terrible situations, but there are people, my grandmother came here from Cuba, and became a citizen, came here from Cuba at the absolute worst time to try and be able to get into this country from Cuba. And I honestly, I benefited from that. I didn't have to struggle through that, but you can't tell me it can't be done. And when you sit here and you throw funds at these people that are coming across the border illegally, a lot of which are children being trafficked by coyotes for human trafficking across the border, when you start throwing funding at all these people coming into this country illegally, you are devaluing and disrespecting every single person who came here legally, who had to go through the processes, who had green cards, who risked losing their green card and getting shipped back to where they came from, had to go through all those struggles and all those strifes and take a test that most natural born Americans cannot pass just to become a legal citizen. You're spitting in the face of every single person that worked their behind off to get here and make something out of themselves. Everybody that comes to this country, like, I'm all for legal immigration. Hell yeah, that's what makes this country great, is being able to everybody to get together and do everything. And the melting pot that is this country is what makes us better than everybody else. And I hate to say it, it is what it is. You don't like it, that's okay. But our country is better, with all of its flaws. It is better than everyone else because of the people in it, of all races, all backgrounds. And when, again, you spit in the face of every person that worked their tail off to get here by just letting people walk in and break our laws and then just throwing money at them.
Yeah. I mean, and we can't even support our own veterans who fought for the country.
That is the absolute disgraceful part.
Exactly.
So, and like I said, I think on the last one, just like law enforcement, military, the suicide rate in military is way too high, way through the roof, unacceptable. And how often, I don't know how many times you've been out with them, but probably a year ago, I was out with a guy. He's out of the military in some fashion or other, Marine, most likely mental health stuff. But he's, people are calling us because he's pacing in the streets. He's screaming and crying. Like, 1 minute he's yelling, the next minute he's crying. You can't understand what I go through. We're trying to talk him down, and it's almost becoming violent because, like, no one is there to help him. And we sit there and we try to talk him down, and we try to help him understand that we are here for you. Like, we may not understand exactly what you went through, but we're here for you. And we try to refer him to services, and he tells us, "Oh, they don't do anything for us. They don't do anything for us." And you know what? He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Yeah. And that's definitely a problem.
If there is anything that I would accept Biden raising my taxes for, it's to pump into the funds to help, veterans of this country, law enforcement veterans, military veterans, hell, even hose draggers, even firefighters. They go through some stuff. They see traumatic stuff. Like, people need help. Like, and we're just not giving it to them, and we're allocating it to other things that, may be important, but they got to take a back seat sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, money doesn't grow on trees. But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into our last.
After all that, we're gonna take a little bit of a less serious tone.
Trying to be a little bit upbeat in this very dark, depressing
video.
Oh. All right, so go ahead.
Well, our final topic that we decided we were going to talk about a little bit. We're both big gamers. The job obviously makes it a little difficult to play as much as we'd like sometimes. But he's an Xbox guy. I'm a PlayStation guy. Honestly, growing up, I tried to have as many systems as I could. I love the Xbox and the exclusives like Halo, and PlayStation's got a bunch of exclusives like Spider-Man and stuff like that I love too. But the biggest problem I think that we're wanted to discuss is this absolutely ridiculous shortage of the PS5s and the Xbox Series X and the nonsense people are going through to get these things. I mean, you managed to score an Xbox Series X, but go through what you had to do, the nonsense to get that thing.
So I actually created a Twitter account just so I could follow somebody that was like, oh, it's going to be restocked at this time. So I'd worked an overnight detail, and I was like, he was like, oh, 5 minutes before it was dropped. And I was like, okay, I'll stay up 5 minutes. Didn't drop. Like, I'm going to go into bed. So I woke up and I was like, oh, well, GameStop is going to have it dropped in 20 minutes. I was like, oh, sweet. So I didn't miss this one. So I was able to get a Xbox Series X without any, extra controllers or extra video games I didn't want.
Basically the base, so for people that don't know or that actually care but don't know, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X both come with two standard versions that come with, the cords and the one controller, no games. They have a digital only version that doesn't come with a disk drive, so you can download, you only go to their Xbox or the PlayStation store and download games digitally that save on your hard drive. And then they have a more expensive version where you can download the digital games, but it also comes with a disk drive, so you can, you know, go to Walmart, go to Target, go to GameStop and buy those games. You can actually, they're backwards compatible, so you can play a majority of the games from your old systems and whatnot. The digital only is right about $400 when you can actually find one in one of those stores.
Yeah.
And the dual version is about $500 before $499 before tax. And these people, just like every other system that the Switch dealt with it. I don't know if the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One dealt with it. We had a family member that bought one for my kid for Christmas, so they slept outside all night at a Best Buy in another state and bought it and shipped it to us. So I don't know if that was even a problem. Do you remember?
I don't know. No, I don't remember.
But it's getting out of control with, you know, these people they're going on and they're buying them in mass droves. They're buying like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 of these Xboxes. And then they're going online because they know there's a shortage of them, and they're going on and they're selling them for like $800-900 just for the base one. And then you start getting these bundles that come with a couple games and an extra controller. Now the games are $70 a pop, the controllers are $70 a pop. They're throwing other things in there like the cameras or the VR systems and stuff like that. My kid found one for $2,000 and he was like, "Is that a good deal?" Nah, bro, that is not a good deal. Like, it's a $500 system. Yeah, but it's a bundle. Yeah, but what are they adding to the bundle? Like $400 worth of stuff? That's like a $900 system, and you're paying $2,000. No, that you spend your money however you want. But if you want to be a moron, but you know, eventually they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be everywhere at some point, and you may lose out on some of that playtime, and your friends are going to be able to say, "Oh, well, I had it set 8 months before you." Yeah, but you paid $1,500 and I paid $5, so
Yeah.
you're the idiot.
And honestly, as far as the Series X, it's not worth it right now because Halo Infinite has not come out yet. And that's the only reason I got this Xbox One X.
That's the reason
for Halo 5.
That's the reason for the Xbox is Halo, but
yeah. It's a superior game.
well, I saw an article that said the reason for the shortages, and you had a little bit more information on it, but the reason for the shortages was because of the processor chips that they were using, where they came from or whatever. There's a shortage, so
Yeah, I think it was like some parts they needed for the systems were coming from China, and because of COVID, you really couldn't ship them all, and
it screwed it up again.
Yeah.
It's always COVID. COVID's fault for everything. But,
Yeah.
but
COVID's going to linger for the next 5 years.
it's going to ruin everything. So I also saw, because I know the Xbox One had the Xbox One, and then it had the Xbox One S, and then it had the Xbox One X, I believe was like the equivalent for that was like the PS4, and then the PS4 Slim had a little bit stronger everything, and they had the PS4 Pro, which is basically like almost to the PS5, and the Series X. The Xbox One X was almost to the Series X, but obviously these newer systems play up to like 8K, and there's all kinds of extra benefits. But you know, the PS4 Pro came out probably, I believe it was 3 years into the PlayStation's lifespan, or the PlayStation 4's lifespan, and I saw an article that said that the PS5 is, because of all the chip problems and the chip shortages, when they come out with the PS5 Pro, they're actually talking about doing it only like a year into the lifespan, because whatever chips they're using, they're talking about changing it up or moving to a different piece of equipment that's going to be supposedly better, more powerful, whatever, but also there shouldn't be a shortage on it either. So everybody should be having PS5 Pros. They're going to probably be everywhere.
Yeah, and I would only get that for Spider-Man, and there was another one, Ghost of something. I can't think of it right now.
Well, the Spider-Man PS4 game was ridiculous, and the Miles Morales game, it plays basically the same. It's kind of feels like the same game, but it's not the same game. There's extra powers, the graphics are better, and it's ridiculous. Like it is literally worth getting a PlayStation. Just like Halo is worth getting an Xbox just for the Halo. That Spider-Man game alone is worth the PlayStation just for that alone. And I saw the graphics on the PS5, and it looks ridiculous. I mean, even Grand Theft Auto. I know you and I have talked about that before. Grand Theft Auto has been around since 2013. Like, that game's never gonna die.
It's on its third generation of console already.
They brought out Rockstar brought out Red Dead Redemption 2, and Red Dead Redemption 2, the story mode was amazing. I was stoked for the online mode, but man, I know a lot of people like it, but that online mode to me does not translate, because you're so used to playing Grand Theft Auto on a decent sized map, but you have like airplanes and helicopters and rocket bikes that can get you across the map in like under a minute, and you move to this game that's got a map that's like 15 times the size, and all you can do is ride on
a horse,
and it takes you've got like you can go to train stations and take like a quick jump on the train. It just does a cutscene that gets you to the next location, but that costs money. So of course, but Rockstar, people have been screaming for Grand Theft Auto 6 for a long time, and at this point I'm starting to think that it's never going to happen, just because GTA 5 has got this system just built, and they complain. If you go online, people just complain and complain and complain. Oh, GTA, it's old, it's dead, it's boring. The stuff costs too much in there, so you got to end up spending too much real money, or you got to grind too hard to beat the game. But people keep playing. I've never gone online and had a hard time finding a lobby full of people. Like, people keep playing the crud out of that game. So
and they keep updating it, so it just keeps the replayability.
Rockstar are geniuses. They're geniuses, honestly. So, I mean, I guess in short, as far as the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox stuff goes, don't be overzealous. Don't be overly excited. You're going to be able to, at some point, you'll be able to get them at some point, and you'll pay $500 for it, and you won't have to break the bank. It may take a little bit, like you said, you had to go on Twitter. We're following some guys on Twitter that give us the heads up. One of the links took us directly to the PlayStation store to try and buy it, and that was gone within seconds. Like that, we didn't even have a prayer of that. And then we heard about GameStop, and we took the day that GameStop allocates for it. I don't even remember what it is, but my wife and kid went on there, and they sat in there, and they loaded up the shopping cart with the PlayStation he wants to buy, and they sat there, and obviously there's like 8 million people going into the website at the same time, so it's lagging, and it wouldn't process. So my kid, in typical fashion, like a bonehead, swiped down and reloaded the page, and boom, just like that, it was gone. They pulled it out of their cart, unavailable. It's gone. So it's first come, first serve. And I mean, if you're patient enough and you know the right places to look, you can find it without spending $80 gajillion on a video gaming console.
Yeah, especially from people that are, just bought, like you were saying, like bought 10 of them and are now selling them for twice the market value.
We really should boycott, we should never, let those idiots get stuck with those systems and have to pay them, sell them for cost. There's no reason that those morons should benefit off of people's pain and suffering. Just like with toilet paper, just like with gas issues, make them suffer.
Yeah,
I'm for
it. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Since we're coming into the waning moments of this thing, I just wanted to remind you that I did wear this especially just for you, because I know you, big Gators guy, right?
Oh yeah, totally. I know you're a big Crimson Tide, and you just did that shirt for me.
This was just for you. I think when Florida beats Alabama, this is the shirt you're gonna have. Not my shirt specifically. We're gonna have to get you one like this that you can wear on the show. We'll be twinsies. We'll match.
Okay, so never got it.
You thought. So
it's gonna be like a 50-10 maybe, if your team gets lucky.
And then you wake up and realize you were dreaming, but it's fine. So
well, let's stop talking about things that will never happen, like the Gators winning against Alabama. Anyways, we have a special announcement. I'm gonna let Fred take that.
So we are possibly looking at doing a something like a fact or myth kind of thing with law enforcement. Just something that we thought would kind of go over well, may even turn into its own little segment of video separate from this if it does well enough or people like it enough. But what we would like you guys to do is we would like you in the comments, or you could message us or whatever the case may be, ask us anything, like anything that you've heard from movies or from from people getting stopped by cops or whatever. Hey, is this true? Do cops do this? And we'll fact or cap it. We'll fact or myth it and tell you why or why not it is legit or not legit. And obviously everything that we say is specific to us and our experiences, and can't vouch for everybody. But in general, there are some things. Prime example, I just got into a discussion the other day with someone about entrapment. So stuff like that, we can try to answer for you as best as possible. And we look forward to it. I think there's going to be a lot of things that people are going to be surprised about, one way or the other.
Yeah. So just comment your suggestions below, like, subscribe, and I guess there's a bell now. Yeah,
you gotta listen. Liking and subscribing isn't enough anymore with this silly YouTube algorithm. With the games the algorithm plays, especially being a newer channel, you need to hit that notification bell, and it gives you the opportunity. Just go ahead and hit all notifications. Don't mess with the personalized. Just all notifications. Every time we post something, you'll see it. But yeah,
before YouTube comes out with a brand new way.
Yeah. And then we'll try to figure that out for you. But
yeah,
we definitely appreciate all the support. We go through our analytics way too many times per day just to see how everything's going. And there have been a lot of people that are following along that are not just our friends and family. So we appreciate that. And there's a lot of people that are watching. We've got the watch time hours. There's a lot of people watching and they're liking the videos, but they're not subscribing. So hopefully we can keep pumping out enough material to earn a subscribe from you, but we appreciate all the support.
Thanks for watching.